name is pronounced Fiacco.
Yes.
Fiacco.
Fiacco, yeah.
Fiacco. Italian?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
But I'm like, they call it munja cake, so like Canadian.
Oh, okay.
So it's fine.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Samira, and this is the Day Zero podcast. I borrowed Antler's slogan of 0 to 1. This is the Day Zero podcast. It is a podcast all about early stage founders, investors, and startups in general. I'm currently a founder, part of an incubator program put together by Antler VC, which is a global early stage VC fund that says that it invests in exceptional people and the technologies of tomorrow, or the companies of tomorrow. It's a 10-week in-person residency. We are on week 6, and we basically work our way up to a pitch to an investment committee, at which point, if they like what we're dishing, they will invest in our startup. And then essentially the rest is, the usual stuff. You raise a round, et cetera, et cetera. So we're on week 6, and I am a founder in the cohort. This is Matthew Fiacco.
Hello.
I'll let him introduce himself properly. Just to wrap up my end, Antler is pretty special compared to other accelerators or incubators in that it's almost like a pre-team, pre-idea accelerator. So essentially my ideas on what I'm building change essentially every week. So last week I was building in legal tech, and this week I am building in femtech. All right, Matthew, do you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. My name's Matt. I'm a recent graduate of Schulich's MBA program. Been interning at Antler since January. As part of the MBA program, we have a course called Entrepreneurship, Venture, Mentorship Match, and I was matched with Antler, fortunately, back in January, so I've been here for the past couple months. Prior to joining Antler, I've been working at Scotiabank for, it'll be 7 years in July. I started off as a teller, became customer service manager, and then I've been a small business advisor for almost 2.5 years now. Prior to doing the MBA, I did a Master of Management at Schulich as well.
Okay.
And that's basically a master's degree for students who don't have a business undergrad, because my undergrad's actually in history.
Oh, interesting.
So it's super random.
Yeah.
I took that just because it was the only thing I liked coming out of high school.
Right.
And the plan was originally to become a broadcaster on TSN, but...
Ooh, okay, maybe this is gonna start that
I didn't get into the program, though. so I just took history.
With the power of the internet now,
that's true.
Anyone can become a sports broadcaster.
Exactly.
What's your sport of choice?
Hockey.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
I like football as well, though.
Okay, NFL football?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah, I'm a New York Jets fan.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately a Leafs fan, so...
Weren't the Bills going to come to Toronto at one point? Was it the Bills?
They've done before.
Oh, they've done? Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a Bills fan, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
All right.
They're division rivals, so I can't.
Oh, right. Okay, all right. Not to get too distracted, but the only time I really watched NFL intently was 2 years ago. We went to Jacksonville. My aunt lives there.
Oh, nice.
And that's a city that's crazy about
yeah.
NFL. And they made the playoffs, so it was such a big deal. It's a crazy atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I've never been to a game live, so I want to go to a Jets game, but maybe one day.
Yeah, one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. So it seems like your background is, so many things, small business, banking. How did you find yourself in a venture firm? Was it your choice? What made you curious about startups?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in working with business owners. My dad's an entrepreneur ever since I was a little kid. Okay. He's had a car dealership when I was younger. He had now he has an automotive marketing firm, and so I've kind of seen the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, I guess you could say, firsthand. Okay. So I've always kind of had that interest. To be completely honest, when I got into the Master of Management program, I had no desire of working with businesses at the time. Okay. Just because I honestly just did that program because I didn't know what I wanted to do in life still. Okay. So I took that program, and at the same time I got promoted to customer service manager from a teller role, and I was one of the youngest in the district. I was 21 managing a team of tellers, and it was like a really big, I guess, chapter like in my life.
How did that happen? Like, how did you get promoted so young and so early? Were you just exceptional?
No, I wouldn't say exceptional. No, I was a good teller. Like, honestly, like I had the best like sales referral performance, and I treated customers really well. So like we had like an NPS score for like how we serve clients and how they feel about us. Net Promoter Score. So
I remember that now.
Yeah. So what that means is like a customer will rate me from 1 to 10 on various surveys, and like after so many surveys, they'll give you like an average basically. And so my average was always good. So I figured like my friend who was managing a branch in Richmond Hill was hiring for a customer service manager. And I just messaged him. I said, "Hey, can I have the job?" And like, or not gonna have the job, but like, is this something you think I would be good for? Like, do you think I could, potentially explore that opportunity? And like, at first I thought I was joking because like I always told them like I wasn't too sure like what I wanted to do in the bank specifically. Then I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I think I can do it. And so she gave me a shot. We're still friends today. And it worked out great. Like we went to that specific branch, and the, I guess, referrals, metrics, and like NPS wasn't, top performing level, and within like 6 to 7 months, we completely changed it. So like, I kind of saw then, I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at like managing people and like working with clients and stuff like that. So when I did the Master of Management, I thought, okay, let me see what opportunities I can explore. And that's when I met Chris Carter, who's our professor.
He's amazing.
Yeah, and he and I took his course called New Firm Creation. So basically, what we had to do was it was a 12-week course, and you had to build a startup and pitch to investors by week 12.
Oh, really?
So kind of like what you guys are doing now at Antler.
Wow.
So it was interesting.
But there's no like technical people, right? It was pitching.
It was all like it was there was you don't have to actually build the product, but you were competing for money by the end of it, and you're versing like your classmates basically.
Right.
So it's cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Couple questions as you were telling that story.
Yeah.
First, can you give us some sales tips? Because as a founder, we constantly hear, especially at the early stage, and when you're fundraising, you have to be a salesperson.
Big time.
And then the second question I had was, we also hear this advice, like even most recently, Sham yesterday, that you just have to ask in order to get something. Your story of just asking for the position?
Yeah, it's so true. Like, even like in the small business advisor role, like it's a very sales heavy role. Like you get to work with business owners regularly, but at the end of the day, like your main objective in that role is to generate new business for the bank. And so my primary role was to secure like new accounts, new investments, new business loans.
Okay, so give us some sales tips.
Sure, no problem. Yeah. So I guess I can kind of give like a background of like when I started in the role and like how I kind of came to know my strategy for selling. So when I started in the role, I was given a relatively smaller size portfolio compared to my colleague. So our book of business is quite large in my branch, and my portion of it was smaller just because I was the new guy. So I have to, earn my keep, I guess you could say.
Right,
So,
you're the rookie.
So I really started off, and like the first 6 months were like barely a meeting target. And so what I found that in my role, the more you build relationships with people, the more the sales will come. And so what that means is that, it's not just like calling and checking in on someone, hey, how are you? And then like hoping they call you back for an investment, but just regularly following up with people. Like I remember one of my colleagues told me that on average it takes about, 8 to 12 attempts before you close a lead. And so that's the philosophy I followed. So if someone says no to me today, that doesn't mean they might say no in 6 months or a year. And so that's how I was successful in my role. So when I first started and I called my clients, like, oh, who the hell is this guy? I'm not going to give you $1 million to invest. And so you call them so many times, you follow up with them, and it's just that persistency or that persistence, sorry. And like eventually there will come a point in time where either they're A, unhappy with whoever is currently providing them a service, or B, they'd be like, okay, maybe this guy or girl is like onto something. Maybe they need to. Maybe I need to talk to them.
Do you think this translates to how founders can build relationships with investors?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as long like the persistence
Yeah.
is I think some people are kind of like shy, like they shy away from the persistence because they don't want to sound annoying or be like, too pressing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that's what will keep you in people's mind.
Right.
So being on top of mind is the key for sales. Like you want to be at a point where, let's say you're building, I don't know, like
top of mind.
Let's say you're building a platform and let's say Shopify is your biggest competitor. I know it's like Shopify is a massive company, but you want to like be so persistent to the point where you're like, okay, this company thinks of me first because I keep calling them.
Okay.
And so like,
interesting.
not everyone's going to be accepting to that. So like, you're going to get people who may find you annoying, hang up the phone right away, and that's it. But that's just like, that's how it works.
The nature of the game.
Exactly. But there's going to be that one person that's going to listen to you and be open. And like, I can give you an example. Like we had a 6-weeker company at Antler about 3 months ago, and he was trying to like build his network in Canada.
Okay.
And he came to us and he asked us like, do you know anyone in the industry that you can connect me with? Because I need to get some design partners. I'm trying to run pilots and see if this thing actually works. And so I just took the initiative and I called up 10 in the GTA and 2 signed on and said yes.
Wow.
And so like, it's just, and one guy yelled at me on the phone. He was like, why are you calling me? This is a sales call. And he hung up right away. And I was like, okay, wow.
And you can't take it personally, right?
No,
you have
can't.
to just,
you can't. Yeah.
I remember reading, Zig Ziglar, the old school sales guy. He used to write books like See You at the Top and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. But I was just reading it like 6 months ago. And one of the things he said is like, every person should do a sales job at one point.
I agree.
Like the self-esteem and self-confidence it builds. Because I'm just imagining like someone who doesn't have a training in sales, a no could be so devastating, like rejection.
Oh, yeah, for
sure. But if you have a sales background, then it's just like water off a duck's back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like in my opinion, everything is sales.
Everything is
everything
sales.
You do in business is sales. Whether you're starting your own company and you want to sell a product, whether you're working for another company, I feel like everything, regardless of what it is, has to be sold to someone.
Right.
So there has to be that person or people or group of people that are there to kind of push that product or service. So,
which makes sense because we live in a society that runs around a market, essentially.
Exactly.
Everything is supply and demand. And without that, it doesn't really run. I mean, people have attempted to make it run without it, and it hasn't resulted in good outcomes. Something else I was thinking of as you were just recounting this, like the asking. Another reoccurring theme I've seen lots of like speakers or the Antler team tell us is be shameless in your asking and like what you want. So
for sure,
it like even just recalling that key word sometimes makes me like do an action that previously like before coming to Antler I wouldn't have done.
Yeah, and for sure. And even like when I was at Scotiabank, like we got preached the same thing. So at the first time, on one side of things, be shameless and ask for sure. But at the other side of things, you have to earn the right to ask too.
Oh, okay.
So for me, like as a salesperson, I can ask someone for, referrals like through word of mouth because to be honest, that's the best way to get referrals and generate traction. But that person's only going to refer me if I give them good service. Or in this case, if you're building a product, if you show to that client, your product is optimal and it's better than the competition, then you've earned the right to ask them for word of mouth referral.
Because their reputation,
of course,
they're putting their reputation on the line every time they make a referral for you. So if you don't make them, happy or proud, then they won't do it. Okay.
Yeah, and like if I give a client bad service at the bank and I ask them, hey, if you have any friends that know to come to me, they'll be like, what the hell, screw you.
That's true. Okay.
So that's kind of my philosophy. Be shameless, but also at the same time, make sure you've earned the right to ask for that follow-on referral.
Okay, very fascinating. My second question, I think you addressed it as well. All right, moving on. So a lot of people do an MBA for various reasons, right? So you just finished your MBA, right? And you did like really well. I saw your LinkedIn post. You won many awards and honors. So where do you see yourself? You have, experience in banking, small businesses, and now a glimpse into how venture operates and startups. And now you're graduating. What are you going to do? What industry are you going to enter?
Yeah, no, I'd love to work in VC.
Oh, you would? Okay.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay. Why?
I just love working with founders. That's my passion.
Such a VC answer.
No, it's true. Like
I know,
it's cliche,
true,
but like
it's true.
no, I like what I like these past 4 months. Like I've been working with Sham on portfolio, and
right.
it's been like a really good learning experience. Getting to like view different opportunities with different businesses and different verticals. It's like you're getting exposure to everything. Like
right.
I love working at the bank.
Yeah.
I love the small business advisor role, and I'll be going back there once this internship's done. But long term, I like venture capital is my goal.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get into a role where I can work with founders, but I'm also open to starting off as an analyst because again, you have to earn your keep,
right?
And you have to eventually progress to that level.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my courses in the MBA were kind of revolving around finance as well, so I'm okay with like the valuation side of things and market research and stuff like that. So I feel like all these skills are kind of optimal for VC.
Right.
So and plus I'm really passionate about it. And for me, like if I'm passionate about something, I'm up until 2 a.m. working on it.
Right.
So like.
And it doesn't feel like work.
No, like I'll literally look at the time like what the hell, 5 hours has passed.
Okay, very.
It's kind of like when I'm playing PlayStation. I completely forget where everything is.
Or when you're watching an NFL game.
Exactly.
Okay, very fascinating. So Matt, the next question I have for you, which also I didn't know you like going by Matt.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Okay, great. Matt, the next question I have for you is, okay, so you can see yourself working in venture. I'm a founder in the cohort at Antler, and the Antler team, they interact with us, but we have a separation of function. We're the founders, they're the VCs.
Yep.
So I want you to walk me through a day at Antler. So yeah, what was your typical day in this 4 months? Like,
I wish there was a typical day.
Oh yeah, okay.
There wasn't really a typical day. Every day was really different, but it really depends on like what's going on basically. So like for the past month and a half roughly, I've been working on program with Daphne.
Okay.
So just been helping her prepare the program for you guys for the first couple weeks. So kind of organizing the guest speakers, organizing the calendar, make sure everyone's connected to the program and things like that.
Okay.
Prior to that, though, I was working with Shem. So my role was to be kind of her associate. And so I was working with existing portfolio companies, but I'd also review any incoming deals for 6-weekers. Okay. So 6-weekers, it's kind of like the 10-week program, but these guys would have already had like a business formed and a team formed. Okay. And so that's why it's like a shorter program, but they're still in that pre-seed stage. And so we do invest in those types of companies as well.
So when you say 6-weeker, does Antler run the 6-weeker program?
It's not like a formal program. We just call it a 6-weeker because like they come into...
You track them for 6 weeks.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And then we have an IC meeting at the end of 6 weeks if they're on track.
Okay.
So it's similar in the sense like we're evaluating the team to see their progress in those 6 weeks. And then at the end of it, we make a decision in the IC meeting. So part of my job was really doing the due diligence on those deals. So, for example, we did a recent investment in a company called Numer. Okay. And so part of my role was during that 6-week process, I had to learn about, what Numer is building, what's the market look like, what are the competition, what's their market size, and a little bit of valuation, like looking at comparable analysis and stuff like that.
Okay, so when deal flow, there's so many terminology in venture I don't know. So I'll ask very naive questions. But this is the Day Zero podcast, I think people
it's all
understand.
Good.
So when you review deals, right? What does that look like? Is it someone's pitch deck, essentially? Is it what is it?
So it's a bunch of things. So first and foremost is the pitch deck.
Okay. First and foremost, so a pitch deck is the thing you see before you even talk to a founder, right?
Yeah, so it depends on how the connection is done. So like in my case, I get forwarded the pitch deck from like the team members at Antler. So they would have had like an initial conversation with them already.
But you base your judgment, I mean, some on word of mouth and what they communicate. But I guess the point I'm trying to get at is the pitch deck is quite significant in conveying information.
Sure. It's very important, yeah.
It's very important. Okay. Interesting. And we had a workshop by Raymond Luck, who came and told us some tips on how to construct a good pitch deck. You were there, right? I
wasn't there, but I'm familiar with like his presentation.
Okay, great. And one of the things he said is like have an FAQ section at the end sometimes to give more info. But okay, so you've reviewed a lot of pitch decks. What are your tips for like creating a great pitch deck that conveys like a good amount of information, so even if it gets passed down to someone else, they can understand.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I always tell people treat the pitch deck like a story.
Okay.
Don't just like throw facts at the viewer.
Right.
You want to really tell the investor who you are, what the problem is, how you're solving it,
Okay.
why you're the team that can solve it. So showing like the team and like why, like what's your background and how does it relate to this?
Okay.
If you have any traction, to show that on there is really good.
Okay.
Market sizing, just to get an idea of what your market is like. What is the potential of the business,
Okay.
essentially? Things like that. And so when I look at a pitch deck, you really want to be captivated by the story. That's what kind of gets the investor's eye right away.
Okay.
And I was learning in school, actually, apparently it's an investor on average only looks at a pitch deck for 2 minutes.
Okay.
So if you're presenting physically
Yeah.
to someone, like you have 2 minutes basically to
Right.
grab their attention like that.
Okay.
And so I wasn't like watching a presentation. I was just looking at the pitch deck.
Okay.
So you want to make sure there's enough information in there for the team to view. Yeah.
But you also, since it's only 2 minutes of review, you want to balance enough information, but not an information overload, right?
It's kind of like marketing. Like a pitch deck is really a marketing tool, right? Like you want to show like why your solution is the best solution for what you're trying to solve,
Yeah.
why your team is the best team that can solve it,
Yeah.
and here are the financials to support it.
Okay.
That's kind of like the basic skeleton of one. there's like a like Raymond, I'm sure showed you like the typical layout of
Right.
a pitch deck, like what order you should present things in.
Yeah.
Like his presentation of that is great
Okay.
because it really allows you to follow that storyline.
Okay. Recently I saw someone's pitch deck which deviated a little bit in the formatting.
Mhm.
So for instance, they didn't have headers that said problem, solution, or like sometimes they didn't have header. Like I know Raymond said you can use a descriptive
Yeah.
sentence instead of a header, but when I was, they were showing it to me for feedback, I was a bit, it was hard to follow along because I was so used to seeing those like,
Right, yeah.
What do you think of that? Do you think like, how much creativity should you take in your like pitch deck construction, and how much should you like stay within?
Yeah.
You know.
Honestly, for me, it's going to be personal based on whoever's viewing it.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of creativity. Like if
Oh,
I
you
see
do?
if I
Okay.
see a creative pitch deck that captures my eye, me personally,
Okay.
because like I like to make creative pitch decks. That's just me.
Okay.
So like if I see someone put a lot of effort in to make it visually appealing,
Okay.
that's going to capture my eye right away.
Right.
The content has to be there as well. But like
Yeah.
if someone's like got that creative aspect to them, I think it shows a lot about their skill set. So I
Okay.
think for me personally, it's a huge plus.
Okay.
But other VCs might not care. I don't know. It
Okay.
depends on the person, I guess.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I'll ask. It was actually Steven's deck, so if you haven't had a chance to review it,
Okay, sure.
I'll tell him that you want to take a look at it.
Sure.
Okay, and then it seems like one point you keep emphasizing with the pitch deck, especially for, I'm guessing like early stage, right, is who you are
Mhm.
and
Yep.
why you're the person to build it. So if your pitch deck is all factual and like whatever, right?
Yep.
You have to like, what would you say is the percentage of like, you know, facts, finances, market, and then why you, like, what is that, and the story of you? Is it like 50-50?
No, I in my experience and in my personal opinion, I would say the why you
Yeah.
and the team
Yeah.
is one of the most important parts of the pitch deck
Okay.
or in the business plan in general.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, your solution could be great.
Yeah.
Your financials could look amazing. The forecast could look great. And the market could be huge. But at the end of the day, if you are not the person or you don't have the experience or if there's nothing showcased as to why you can solve this
Right.
problem
Versus anyone else. that you
versus
can-
literally anyone,
Yeah.
it makes it hard for the investor to back you, right? And especially at Antler, like we're pre-seed. So like we're the very earliest stage.
Yeah.
We're only looking at the founder.
Right.
Like the idea has to be solid. And like
Yeah.
obviously you have to have like a objective and a market size and all that other stuff. But we're really banking on you as a person
Yeah.
to be that person to go and solve that problem.
Okay.
And if you look at it like in a general business sense, the most important part of a company is always the management.
Right.
That's just a fact across the board.
Okay.
So I'd say 99% of VCs care mostly about who you are, why you can solve the problem, and what's your experience as a team.
Okay. So I'll make sure I convey that in my pitch deck.
Exactly.
All right. So I made you deviate a bit, but okay.
That's okay.
So your day-to-day. So you would look at that. I know we're going all the way back. I need like a piece of paper and pencil next time to like make sure I follow along. So you would look at these, you would help Shan with these deals.
Yes.
Yeah. What else?
And then there's a lot of, as an intern, like there's some administrative work you have to take care of as well. So we have like our CRM software, basically I manage, as well as the other team members. And so me and Alexa are kind of like in charge of updating that regularly.
Okay.
And then with the existing portfolio companies, we also provide them support. So like the whole, I guess the value proposition of Antler is we have the global network. So we try to connect as much as possible existing portfolio companies with, global partners. So like if a company needs to get some insight for, something in the US, we have Antler US that can help them with that. Or if we have partners that are, technically expert, like they have a technical expertise, we can connect them with them. So part of my role was kind of reaching out to VC firms in the US and Canada to connect them with our portfolio companies that are raising funds right now. Okay. So, because we want them to grow.
Right.
They want to succeed and we want to help them succeed. So we connect them with our list of investors.
It seems like you guys are really hands-on and supportive of the founders you back.
Yeah.
And even the founders you haven't backed yet.
Yeah.
Like we've had people come and pitch again and everything. That's really amazing.
Yeah. And I find it funny too, because like some people come to us and be like, oh, are you competing with like the other VC firms in Toronto?
Right.
And we're really not. Like it's Antler's commitment to like building the ecosystem is true in its form through this program and through like what they're doing. Like we're so open to connect a portfolio company with another VC firm so they can, fund the next round.
Right.
And we don't compete with the other.
Okay.
Like we won't compete with like Graphite Ventures or something. Just random.
Is that true in general with the VC landscape where firms aren't competing with each other but more collaborative and supportive?
In my experience in the Toronto ecosystem, I've seen a lot of collaboration.
Okay.
So in this past summer, I took a course called Ecosystem Innovation Design. Okay. And so it was basically like a 2-week intensive course in the MBA where we got to see the different areas of the Toronto startup ecosystem. Okay. And so we went to like CIBC Innovation Banking, went to the DMZ, went to Mars Discovery District, and all I saw there was just collaboration. Like there was no like butting of heads, I guess you could say. And all the VCs, I feel like they know each other for the most part in Toronto. Yeah. So there's a really like tight-knit community in that sense. I could be entirely wrong, but
no, that seems right.
This is just from what I've observed myself.
Yeah.
And even like at school, like we have events where different VC funds come and present to students. And like I was at one in November, a part of the Schulich Ventures Club, and we had TELUS Ventures come and we had a BDC and there was another one as well. And like it was just, I don't know, it was collaborative.
That's really...
Yeah. I think that's like what makes the Toronto ecosystem unique compared to like the American one where they're all cutthroat. Okay. From what I've read online.
Right.
But that's just my personal experience.
Okay, very interesting. I heard someone say collaboration is the new currency in the modern day.
It is, yeah.
And even Google, who's like a mega conglomerate, they had a few people from their startup leg come, and they basically showed us the startups that they support, even when they have products that are directly competing against Google. So yeah, it seems like collaboration is like a no-nonsense approach to like flourishing for everyone.
For sure, yeah. And I think it's good that we are collaborative, especially in Canada, because the market, it's inevitably smaller than the U.S. market. So in order to grow as fast as possible, you need that team effort.
That's true.
And that ecosystem support. And I think that's what we have. And I don't know, I think the ecosystem potential in Toronto, it's already one of the best in the world, in my opinion. But I think there's a lot more potential that could be unraveled. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. And then I think a lot of people want to get into VC because it seems very lavish. Was there any part of your, experience at Antler where you got to like experience some of that lavishness or anything?
What kind of lavishness?
Like, I don't know, after parties or like things like that.
I mean, we had the trivia night.
But I was there too.
Yeah.
So that's not really the lifestyles of VCs. I don't know, some prominent VCs on Twitter really like
I guess it depends.
Off.
Like I'm only an intern, right? So I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like,
but you don't hear any crazy stories in the office, right? Okay.
No, I don't think it's like that.
Okay. Very interesting. One question I'm really curious about, since I have access to a member of the team who has the inside scoop, is how does Antler evaluate the founders in the cohort?
Yeah, so honestly, we look at hustle as like a huge thing. So we want to see week after week of the teams that are tracked out building something that is, innovative, and at the same time, are they grinding away?
Okay.
Like, are they putting the time in to really build what they want to build? And we've seen that like so far, and like a lot of the teams are here every day, long hours in one of the rooms and just building. And that's really the one thing we look at. Like another thing too is just having, like a good positive attitude towards building the product. Like, similarly, are you here every day? Are you participating in program?
Yeah.
Are you showing that you like truly want this? Those are two things we really look at in terms of evaluation. And also like in the partner meetings, like when you're meeting with like Bernie or Sham or Naaman or Bijan or Chris, when you're conveying your idea, are you conveying it as if you would to an investor? Like, are the brainstorming sessions productive?
Right.
Are you really is your trajectory looking really positive? Like those are the things we look at.
Okay.
And I think those partner meetings are really a way for the team to kind of connect and see where your progress is.
Right. I will say that I know the Antler team themselves have said over the years they've learned to be even more candid because they realize that helps people the most.
Yeah.
So everything you said, they've also told us. Right?
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's amazing. Yeah, they have in like
Okay.
office hours, like Sham's office hour yesterday. Yeah, they tell us like this is how we're gonna measure you, and it's hard to not do those things and fake it. You have to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
That's why like there's no like secret that they're hiding.
Yeah, and it's true, and they're really like completely, like you said, they're candid about it. And another thing I'll mention as well is a really, really like key factor of it is your ability to pivot. Right. So like you've done already, you've pivoted a couple times, and that's a strong like quality of a founder. Like if you've done your validation, you've kind of invalidated your idea.
Right.
Okay, this is what we're going to do next.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge thing. Like sometimes, like even at Scotiabank, I have clients that they're building their companies and it's not working out and they don't want to pivot. It's just sometimes people are set on what they want to do, and if it's not working out, they don't want to look at other things. And sometimes that willingness to accept that maybe if something's not working out and you want to switch, it's a big step. Like not everyone's willing to do that, right? Like imagine, anything in life. You've done it for so long and like you realize it's not working out and you want to switch.
Yeah.
And it's like it's I don't know. It's kind of that's a key skill to have. And not everyone has it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just relating it to other avenues of life because we've heard you guys talk about pivoting being so important. And now it's finally connecting because I don't know, imagine you grew up in a particular country or a particular culture or religion, right? Like, for instance, for a lot of people that grew up with a particular religion, they will never let go of those ideas or pivot out of it.
It's true, yeah.
So in a founder context, you're essentially doing, because you've constructed this mental model of how you think the world should be, and even if reality hits you in the face, are you still stubbornly going to
it's true,
drive yourself downhill, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay, very fascinating. And my last question, from the work you've done at Antler, the deals you've seen, the interviews you've sat through, and the founders you've interacted with, without repeating what you said prior, what do you think are like the characteristics of a strong founder or someone that you think is, inevitably going to be successful?
I'm trying to think of something else to say.
something, yeah, let's say something unique, or like unusual.
It's hard to say. Like, I think aside from the other things I mentioned, like, it's tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know another.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We
another
figured it out. Those are the things. The hustle.
No, like
the
really,
pivoting.
like the hustle is so important, right? Like
That's true.
like being a founder is hard. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of people I know will say like, I want to start my own business so I can have that freedom. And it's like,
I know.
are you really free as a founder?
Yeah.
Like it's a very like difficult like
Honestly,
task.
that makes me cringe. Or when people are like,
Yeah,
I want to do this like entrepreneurial grind in order to like relax.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand. Like if you're building a company that's venture backed, number one, you have a duty to the new shareholders that are your investors. So like really, you don't have that autonomy that you'd wish you'd have.
Yeah.
As like the typical person who wants like their own business to just like thrive on their own.
Right.
And like in my opinion, being a founder is harder than any corporate job you can get at like a bank or wherever you want to work. Like, it's exceptionally hard. So I just think I'm gonna double down on my last answer.
Yeah,
If you have the willingness and the passion, that's going to be your source of energy for being a founder. Like that's what it takes. Like if you have that hustle and that motivation, and you can keep it. It's kind of like investment banking. If you can manage the 100-hour weeks, you're golden. I mean, that's really how it is. And any long hour job, in my opinion, is nowhere near as hard as starting your own company from scratch and building it day in or day out without even knowing if you'll actually make money from it. 2 to 3 years from now. Right.
I remember when Michael from LumiQ, he came and spoke to us. He said something that was like an eureka moment for me, which is like being a founder is not a career choice. It's a lifestyle.
100%.
So there are people, I think like, especially at the early stage, there's a lot of people that want to create a startup for various reasons. Would you agree that as you progress, those people fall off essentially?
Yeah, 100%.
And the reason you should want to create a startup, like for instance, like myself, I literally find it intolerable to work a corporate job where someone is telling me to follow processes for its own sake and nothing else, or like where I feel like people are making decisions for me. So I'm not using my own like independent thinking. There's no like dynamicism to the work. So for me, I'm like, I want the founder lifestyle for like the next whatever, because I will literally become depressed if I have to go back to like working at the last tech company I worked at. Yeah,
and that's fair. Like, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
Like wanting to build something that is actually going to be impactful to society.
Yeah,
that's a great reason. That's in my opinion, that should be the reason you want to be a founder. Like if someone comes and says, "Yeah, I want to make $1 billion. That's why I want to be a founder." It's like,
unless
if your goal is the money, I mean, I don't know if like
there are people, but I've noticed there are people who their goal is that, and they actually have the drive to like, like their goal is actually not that noble, but they actually have the drive to get there.
No, and that's fair. Like if your goal is money, that's totally fine. But I feel like if you look historically at the people that have built $1 billion companies, like impactful companies like that are changing the game, their goal wasn't money. Their goal was to change the game, because if your goal is money, you could build a Series C, Series D startup and exit and then cash in,
but
I feel like the long-term founders, the ones who are building like the
Zuckerbergs,
the Facebooks of the world, like they're obviously everyone's in it for the money, but that's not their primary objective. Like I would argue Mark Zuckerberg's objective at the time of building Facebook was because he realized he's building like a massive social network and changing the way people connect. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
Maybe I'm too optimistic.
No, because he could he doesn't have to work anymore.
He could have cashed
out.
The
fact that he wants to go to the office every day and handle Facebook's problems that are constantly emerging.
And even like another startup like Wealth Simple, for example, like Wealth Simple could easily IPO and everyone could like cash out and make billions of dollars because they're a great fintech startup, and but at the same time they haven't yet, and they're growing at a reasonable trajectory because they want to disrupt the financial system in Canada, which I think is amazing. I think it's like very honorable of them, and you just have those different motives, right? That's it.
Okay, great. I want to ask, sorry, I said last two questions, but I'm going to ask you a bonus question, all right? This has to do with me. So this is week 6. I've pivoted twice. I found co-founders twice, and I broke up with them twice. what advice do you have for me for approaching the pre-investment committee week and then just the rest of Antler? I'm just curious, like.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't give up.
Okay.
That's what you're saying.
No, I would never give up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And we're regarding like the breakups with like the other founders and stuff. We've had people find a co-founder in like week 8.
Okay.
So I would say keep looking. If your goal is to truly find someone, keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop. There's still other people in the program who haven't found someone yet.
Yeah.
And really, like if you found an idea that you really want to work on,
mm-hmm.
I would just grind away at it.
Yeah, I think
and just
I
keep
have.
going. Yeah. Can you share? Is this still
Yeah,
stuff?
no, I can share. I'm doing a lot of so I basically created an algorithm for myself to
mm-hmm.
come up with a startup idea, and the algorithm goes, what are the problems I currently experience in my life? List them, rank them. Can I find a solution for it? So I try to find a solution for it, because if I can, then all right, my problem's solved. Yeah. And if I can't find a solution for it, I try to figure out why it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have this problem? Is the market big? And then solve the problem. And the one I've arrived at right now is essentially women's hormones. They mm-hmm. fluctuate insanely in a 28-day span. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women that have to work, they're not as effective or productive when they don't have this understanding of how their biology, moods, focus mm-hmm. works. So I want to essentially hack that, essentially optimize women's menstrual cycles so that they have more productive output in their life and work.
Cool.
Yeah. That's
awesome.
My idea I'm exploring right now.
Sounds interesting. I mean, I think that's something you should definitely just grind away.
Okay.
Just keep working on it.
Yeah.
Do your validation this week. You still have some time.
Yeah.
So I just say keep hammering away.
Okay, I will.
And don't stop looking for a co-founder.
Okay.
There's tons of people still that need someone. So.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I will do that. And you know what I love about picking problems that affect me is even at the worst case, you walk away with all this knowledge that helps you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to grinding away at it because I don't consider it grinding, which is what you want.
And that makes it better, yeah.
All right, great. So I'm really enthusiastic to tackle this week. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us and sharing all your wisdom and knowledge. And hopefully, we might shoot again in a year or something and see where each of us are.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.